out to LA. Let's bring in Scott Schrader of We Are SC. And we got Scott on to talk about the latest rumors on signing day eve. When it comes to the Trojans, there's a big prediction hanging out there. Caden Dixon-Wyatt, Ohio State wide receiver commitment. What is the latest intel you're hearing?
Yeah, he's as far as adding more guys to the 2026 recruiting class, that is pretty much the only target that we're hearing about, and it's kind of seeming like this was the direction it was going in for a few weeks now with Caden Dixon-Wyatt. So I haven't submitted a prediction or anything, but that's where I believe he ends up, is at USC.
Okay. What do you think changed here in this recruitment? Because between him and Chris Henry Jr., I mean, we heard them double down on their commitment about a dozen times this cycle, but this is why it's hard to believe what some of these recruits say. I mean, maybe in the moment that they were saying it, that was their full intention, but in the end, I mean, what changed here?
Yeah, I as far as the telling reporters and stuff like that, we actually I was at this Sierra. I wasn't at the last Mater Dei game, and we had a younger guy that knows those guys quite well at Mater Dei, and kind of tied in with the video and photo people also. And a lot of times those are the guys with the best intel are the video guys. And and he had actually talked to Caden before the football game, and so we knew what he was going to tell the media, and we knew that wasn't going to exactly be accurate. I don't know what changed as far as why they decided to go all in on Caden. I do believe that USC was where I thought he wanted to end up in May before he announced, but USC just didn't pursue the same way that other schools. And it's hard to beat Ohio State anyway. I mean, if you're a receiver, but so I don't think really anything changed since the last media reports and stuff like that. I think that was just appeasing the people and then kind of simmering things down. But yeah, this would be a huge addition for USC at the end.
So as USC sits right now, number one, sitting on the top of the hill, Jared Curtis just flips from Georgia to Vanderbilt. It seems like smooth sailing here for USC to finish number one. What do you think? What do you credit? Who do you credit to USC building up a great class? They built it early. They hung on. Yeah. There's really been no drama. So why is it so different this year?
Yeah, you kind of noticed a change on the way things were being conducted from a recruiting perspective at USC in early February after Chad Bowden had taken over. And you have to give credit to the whole team of support staff and assistant coaches and Lincoln Riley himself. But I think ultimately, this entire plan and the way that they orchestrated it and executed their plan was Chad Bowden, Dre Brown, his assistant, and the guys that are on his staff. It's just relationships and constant communication. They talk about over communicating. NIL, obviously. They got the guys on campus. Geez, I think the average number of visits from even the out-of-state guys was like 5 or 6 visits between the time they started recruiting them. And this last week, USC hosted 28 of the 34 commits for the UCLA game. The other guys had football games, so they potentially could have had all 34 commits on campus this past weekend. So it was an impressive, even if they lose one, which I don't think they will. Tip of the cap to Chad Bowden and his staff.
Yeah, unbelievable job. I mean, night and day from what USC fans experienced just a year ago to today. Who on this commit list, who amongst these elite players do you see making an early impact when they arrive at USC?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just answering a question on our message board about that. That's a very popular question. I'm sure that you know that very well. And I think the one guy on defense that I point to is Albert Hill, cornerback from Akron, Ohio. I haven't had a chance to see him play in pads, but just watching him in other environments and just the way that he can move and conduct himself, his personality, it really suits a player well to have that opportunity to come in there and play in the circumstances at USC as well at his position. So he's a guy, if we're talking about a non-skill player, Jamion Winfield is somebody that I think could come in and make an impact as well. Just one of the most impressive football players that I've seen in this recruiting class. So Those are two guys on defense, and if I had to point to one on offense, it would be Trent. It would be Trent Mosley, just because of the versatility on how you can use him and his playmaking ability. The only question mark is, his health, and he's had some issues with that. But if you took a look at how Santa Margarita, who probably will win the state championship in California this year, used him even in the Wildcat. You weren't. You hate to throw out the Reggie Bush terms because that's a unique football player that, it's like
Yeah.
trying to compare people to Travis Hunter. It's just not, you can't do it. But this is a guy who's a big time playmaker, and just his versatility is kind of endless.
Mm. It's going to be a great day tomorrow for USC fans. Thank you, Scott Schrader. We Are SC is where Trojan fans will be hanging out tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. All right, before we move on, let's take a quick look. Yeah, there we go. The top 24. It's the top 24 here. Oh, wow. Georgia dropped 3 spots to number 4. This is the first time I've seen it since the Jared Curtis stuff. Oregon at 3. Notre Dame slides into the 2 spot. I think they're done. I don't expect them to give USC a run here. I mean, maybe Oregon, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, but I think it's smooth sailing for the Trojans to finish in the number 1 spot this cycle. But who could sneak into the top 10? Could we see LSU make a run? Michigan. I don't know, Florida State, they seem like they're a little flat right now, but Oklahoma's been on a heater. Clemson, they're not going in the right direction. We're talking about them going in the other direction. But then you got UNC, they've been flipping a lot of guys. Texas Tech is up in there. You never know with them on National Signing Day. Ole Miss creeping in the top 25. There you guys see it. It could change by tomorrow. All right. Before we get going, I got to tell Inside Scoop listeners about Game Time because the NFL season is underway. Who doesn't love to see their favorite NFL team live and in person, especially when you can go with a bunch of your buddies? But tickets, they aren't easy to find, and getting deals on those last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there the moment your team runs out onto the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experience. It only takes a few simple clicks. The app's easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. You can even get into NFL games as low as $100. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's super simple, and it makes the experience of buying great seats a breeze. Also, one of the coolest features I've seen is the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price if you can find cheaper tickets elsewhere. All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code INSIDESCOOP. That's INSIDESCOP for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's Inside Scoop for $20 off. Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right.